All right. Hello.
How we doing, Ian?
We are on air. I pushed the button a little early. I'm organizing here, but all right, here we go. I gotta make you small. I make you small at top of the screen. That's how I like to have it. Small window.
We're doing it live today.
Doing it live. We got a lot to cover.
We do. I think we do have a lot to cover.
Big show.
Big show, and we should probably bury the lead. I don't know what Dave is going to title this episode, but probably something pretty telling, and so everybody kind of knows what's about to happen. But let's bury the lead a little bit. Let's talk about something else.
You want to do a side project first? Then
I do actually want to do a side project. You've been teasing in the back channels. You found a domain. The team loves it. I helped you find the domain. Also, we got to talk about the domain that I found and then didn't buy. So give us a side project update.
Man, we have so much to cover. Hold on, I got to write down Aaron's domain because I don't want to forget that one. That's a whole piece of the puzzle.
I know.
Today. Whoa, cow. This could be a long one. All right, boy, where do I start with the side project? So I didn't want to talk about the side project too early, and this will be way the earliest I've ever talked about anything because I only started this like 2 weeks ago. Maybe it's
great. I love it.
The idea I've had a long time, but it never really came together. I was working with Codex, just playing with a Laravel starter kit. Right, I'm just in the Laravel starter kit floating around. I got the work OS set up as we talked about. Didn't even know what I was going to do. Started chipping away at this old idea, right? Chip away. I'm like, there's something here. Then solve a few little pieces, put a couple other pieces together, have some stuff, real life stuff happen on the show and other places. I'm like, this could be something.
Okay.
Now it breaks some rules, but it could be something. All right. Let's just jump in.
Let's jump in. Come on. Give us
Here's
the tease
what the idea
here.
is.
Tell us the idea.
So I've been podcasting for 15 years, whatever it is, 13, 15 years. And the podcasting industry. Okay,
here we go.
Jobs,
this is a classic. This is a classic already. We got an industry and a double hand wave. All right.
Double hand wave. The podcasting industry, okay? In terms of software, the foundational software, right, is podcast hosting. Everybody needs hosting. You literally can't have a show without hosting effectively. I mean, you actually technically can, but whatever. Everybody who has a podcast has hosting, right? Fine. That's like your base level. Every podcast has it. Now, that was kind of the main and really only podcast software category, I would say, for a long time.
Okay.
Last couple years, we've seen the introduction of things like Riverside, right? Where now the recording aspect of a podcast, there's dedicated software, right? In the old days, you just had Skype, then you kind of had Zoom, but you're still cobbling it all together yourself. Now we got Riverside, and I think there's a couple other similar tools like that. All the video, audio, editing, fancy editing, where you can edit from the transcript, whatever, all that stuff, right? Great. So to me, there's the third leg of the podcast software industry that has never been addressed, as far as I know. So
and
maybe
still, 4 minutes into the show has not yet been addressed. So
we gotta have the lead up. You can't just drop it on people.
No, of course not. This is showmanship 101. Yes, exactly.
And then to understand it, you need the context, I think.
I love it. I am on the edge of my seat, so I can only imagine the audience is as well.
The final leg is planning, organization, and monetization of the podcast.
Great. The ops side, the business side.
Right. In other industries, you call it like production, but I feel like in podcasting, people might confuse that with like the recording aspect of it, right? It's not the recording. It's not the hosting. It's Trello. It's Google Docs. It's Dropbox. It's Patreon. It's all the stuff you're left to cobble together to make a podcast, right? Like everybody's doing this. It's terrible to cobble. And all these tools, while very nice tools on their own, they aren't for podcasts, right? Nope. And so they have a lot of generic aspects to them that don't necessarily work well for podcasts and certainly don't work together for podcasts. So that's what this tool is. It is all of the other stuff. So
tell me the other stuff. What are we doing in the tool?
I could show you, but maybe I should just describe it because that will be unfair to the listeners. So first thing, number one thing is planning of your upcoming shows. So you make an episode and there'll be automated ways episode gets created, like upcoming episodes get created for you. You can then put what it calls segments into the upcoming episodes, right? And in the segments, you have all different types of segments. But like the base one would be, of course, like topic, which like you're just going to talk about stuff. But you could have production cues, like maybe you're a little bit bigger podcast and like you need to dynamically insert ads in a point. Like you could have cue. You could have, this is a big one for me. This system will manage your mailbag. So you email into the show, right? It receives it. You can respond to it. You can put an email as a segment of an upcoming show because we want to discuss this email, right?
That is a pretty good idea. So it has an inbound email feature.
All my products must have email.
Must have email. I do love that. I do love that.
Because like I haven't checked our email. And the other thing is everybody's using Gmail, right? How do you check? Like I'm the only one who can check the email because I have the login. I could share the login, of course, but like it all gets messy and nobody wants another email account to check. You always forget about it, all that stuff, right? So now it's like, bam, all the emails in a mini help desk for your podcast.
Yep.
Where everybody can see it.
You've accidentally done the same thing again. You made a help desk.
I made a help desk. You can write back to the people from there. You can, when you add segments to a show, they could be assigned. So it's like, so another thing you can add to shows is ads. So like for us, before every show, it's like, well, who's going to read this ad? Blah, blah. Now that's just a segment in the show. This one's assigned to Aaron. This one's assigned to Ian. You can drag and drop, reorder them, right? All that stuff. What else we got? We got a couple other things. Every show has an intro and outro. This is one of the impetus ideas. I always forget the outro, right? I'm always like bumbling around like an idiot on the outro, right? The other day, last week, we were listening to Justin Jackson on a podcast, his podcast, The Panel, and he forgot the intro. He was like, oh, what do I say? You know, he goes through this whole little thing. He doesn't remember. You have a standard intro and outro. Those become segments in the episode. And there are new instances, so you can edit it. So maybe today I have something special for the intro or something special for the outro. I can edit it. It can be custom for this show. I can add some stuff, whatever. All the segments, of course, you can have like, I haven't built this yet, but like there could be some kind of comments. You can have links to videos and resources if you want to play them or just to have them. Part of this to me is for bigger shows than even like what we have, right? So it's like where they do more research, like we kind of come in and do it, right? But like,
don't tell the people the amount of research that we do.
So, and there's a lot of shows like ours, right? But there's a lot of shows where it's like, no, like we do pretty intense research for the show, and so this would be in the topic. You have all your research. Different people can add to the research and all that kind of stuff, media files, whatever, and. You know, like it's kind of like a Trello board where it's just the one column of a Trello board and you have all your segments, but it can do smart things. Like, so first of all, I just talked about like very podcasty stuff, but even like I add a segment in Trello. If I were to have an outro on the board, when I add a new one, it's going to go below the outro because it's just going to put it below. But it can be smart about it. It knows it's a podcast. It knows what an outro is. So if you add a segment, it goes the last one above the outro, right? Because it would never be after the outro. You could drag it to after the outro if you want to. All that kind of stuff. I have another crazy one I built.
Yes,
one of my
favorite. It. I love crazy.
There's a lot of stuff. This is an all-in-one
sprawling
tool.
Yeah.
It's a little sprawling, and not all of this is necessarily going to be in there day one. Although everything I've just talked about is going to be in there day one.
So necessarily all of this will be in there day one.
Yeah, there's a whole other group of things that almost certainly won't be probably.
Sure, but, anything else you can imagine is not in there, but everything he's listed is in there. Okay.
Cool. Yeah. The other type of segment, this is a little out there, but I love the rewatchables. I don't know if you've ever listened to rewatchables.
No.
But it is a movie show. It's about rewatchable movies, right? So right up my alley, obviously.
Yep, obviously.
They have tons of categories. Part of the shtick of the show is like, whatever, a person was at their apex, best scene of this type or whatever, all that kind of stuff, right? And they track them, and they have another segment that's like Hanks or Cruise. Like, would this movie be better with Tom Hanks or
what a great
Tom
segment.
Cruise?
What a great segment. I gotta listen to this.
Yeah,
it's a great segment. I've probably seen zero of the movies, but I do like that segment.
This is the beauty of the rewatchables, is like, just go back. You will have seen some of the movies because they're all super famous movies. So like, go back and listen to the ones of movies you've seen, and it's excellent. So they have all this tracking they do. And I've heard on other podcasts where people track like the number of times you do X or whatever. So it's got this thing called trackables, and you can add a trackable to the segments, right? And it's like, so if you were doing a category style show, you could have like 20 segments with each category. it is a little database that tracks the selections. There's like counter, a list, the open text, whatever. There could be other stuff. And so this way you don't forget to do it. It's right there.
Overbuilt already, and I love it. You built trackables.
It's so good. I love that. So
this is fantastic.
All right. So the other sort of what's called production in the app is like, maybe it'll be called planning in the end. I don't know. But like, is guests. So you can list your guests if you're going to have guests, because you think, what's the link to like send the guest for the recording, whatever. You can just have some basic stuff. It'll be pretty basic, but it'll be like, you can just click a button, send them the email with the like, here's how you get on the show. Here's what you need. Generic email you send everybody. There's another segment type called question. So if you want to have questions for an interview, you can have that out, each one with its own notes, blah, blah, blah. You can imagine some AI stuff at some point that maybe makes questions for an interview or whatever. That definitely won't be version 1. But all right. So there's a whole nother part of the app.
There's a whole nother part.
Just stopping there. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm going to hit you with the reverse Ian and say, I love it. I love it. Oh, it's great. That's the reverse Ian.
God. Holy cow.
I think it's great. So, yes, I don't know. We'll just talk about the idea before we talk about the business. The idea is great. I mean, we're in Trello. You and I, we have the mailbag that I've never once opened.
Ignore,
and you sometimes open and forward me stuff from 4 weeks ago. So I really like the dedicated, inbound email address. That's super cool. Love the idea of segments. I don't know if I'm thinking about database school. I don't have segments over there, so that'll be interesting for shows that aren't really segment driven. Let's see what else.
Well, each segment is just a topic. Like if you were going to have a topic like database school, you're doing interviews, right? So the segments are questions. It's like, okay, I'm interviewing Bob.
Yeah, there's
fair. Like a bunch of questions that are the segments, right? And like that's it. That's just your prep for the show is this list of questions that maybe in the past you did in notes or Google Doc or somewhere random. Now it's like here, you can check them off as you complete them if you want to. You'll have the history there.
I do like that.
You could, I imagine that this will build your show notes potentially for you. So
that would be awesome.
So like if you're in an interview and you ask a question that wasn't on the list, you could add it so that then boom, at the end you push the like create show notes. It does a little AI magic stuff, makes show notes. You can copy paste them into your other stuff, all that kind of stuff.
That would be awesome. That is interesting. Yeah, because the way we do show notes is we take the audio. Actually, Kelsey does it. I mean, she takes the audio and does AI for timestamps, but then all the links and stuff, I think she just has to go and find.
Yep.
So that would be nice. I also like the idea of, are you gonna do like calendaring? Like, are you gonna let guests schedule through this? So you can have, well, there's a whole nother app you have to build in right
interesting,
there.
Right? Because Calendly, you're paying for Calendly.
And it would be, it would be nice to just have, it would be nice because with database school, I think we had Savvy Cal for a while, but we were just so underutilizing it that I think we switched to whatever Google's free calendar tool thing is. But basically, Kelsey just asks me when should we schedule this person. So
that's a nice feature for guests. Yeah.
Oh, it'd be awesome. I would love that. Yeah, please do that.
Okay. All right.
So everything is a segment. I like that. I like that mental model. Everything is a segment.
Because then it's all orderable and all that kind of stuff. Oh, man, where'd you go?
It would be great for us to like. I don't know how much you're building this just for us versus I guess you have to have a first use case in mind. But for us, this sounds ideal. This sounds perfect.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of view it as like, I think it'll be, I think people who want to be organized, it'll be a tool that every podcast could definitely use. I do think not every podcast will be inclined to use a tool like this. Like, I think it's like, you might have to be a little farther along on the journey to like feel like you see the value, but maybe not. It's hard to know. So this is where I'm totally breaking one of the core bootstrap tenets, right? Is like build a product in a category that exists because you know that there is demand, you know how people use it already, and then you can have your fresh take on it or whatever, but you're not really figuring out if people will pay for this type of software, right? So
you know what else I want? And I'm just going to keep expanding your scope here.
Do it. I got notes right here.
You don't have to make a mobile app or anything, but what I want is a way to either text or email in just like a topic idea, because I'll be out and about and I'll do something
really good
that
one.
is genius, as I'm wont to do, or
Yes.
something that is hysterical.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I should tell everyone how smart and funny I am on the podcast. And then I forget because I'm an idiot.
This is why you build it public, so you get great ideas. So
I come in on Monday morning and I'm like, oh shoot, what was that thing? I got to add it to the Trello. Yep. Oh, I was so funny and everyone needs to know. And then it's gone. So I need some sort of like inbox, you know?
So I have the core of this idea already, but I didn't take it that far. And I love that. So like, I didn't mention this, but there's a navigation item just called segments. Yep. Where you could just put ideas for segments, not associated with
like an icebox, like a backlog.
Exactly. So this is like your backlog. Maybe it's stuff you're researching. Again, in like a more research-oriented show, I might be pre-planning a bunch of stuff or whatever. But even for us, like instead of being off on the Trello board in some weird spot, whatever, like it's just here it is, all the ideas for future episodes, and we can pick and choose, and you can assign to a show or whatever. So yes, obviously there's a way to just do it through the app and add a segment that's not associated with the episode. But I love that idea of like, boom, you can text message, you can email. Someday, presumably there could be a mobile app. That wouldn't definitely be too early on. But making it quick so that like, boom, you have this idea for the show. It just goes into the segments database and it's just there waiting for you when you're ready to use it in the future at some point. So I like that.
I like it, Ian.
All right. You're on board.
I'm on board.
This is excited.
Great. And not just for the content. I think it's actually a good idea.
Yeah, I don't, so we'll see if it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea. I'm trying to keep some of the like fastness of like Trello, like where you can just really add segments from in an episode very easily, and there's like low friction. Like it does do this other stuff. We got notes and things, but like you don't have to use any of that. Like if you just want to have titles and that's it, like that's all that's there, and stuff like that. So all right, so that's phase one. Okay. That's like the planning organization.
Love it.
And we should get to the business side of it in a second. Well, I'll save that for a second. The other side of it is the monetization and sort of marketing, I guess.
The white whale.
Yes. I see a couple, I think there's a lot you could do here, but to me, there's a couple of things. One is members, like we talked about even for our show. So like, instead of Patreon and having another thing, it's like just have a member database that's like really tight with all your show planning. Everything's together. You can have posts that people can read. It'll email them. Again, it's like a mini mailing list. We're not building Bento or ConvertKit over here, but like very simple, basically like sort of a blog posty / newsletter emailing-y kind of thing that's like very light. More of the idea of like, I'm giving you updates on the show, I'm telling you what's going on or whatever, that kind of thing. Right. I think we'll use that if people want to go to name of this product, which I'll tell you in a minute. You can sign up to become a member of this show and you can see how it works and all that stuff, which none of that's actually built yet. But there'll be a way, by the time this goes live, there'll be a way for you to join the show as a free member.
This goes live tomorrow.
Well, this little piece of functionality goes live tomorrow to let people join the show so that they can follow along with this product.
So are you saying by the time the feature goes live, you'll be able to use the feature, or by the time this episode goes live, you'll be able to use the feature?
I'm saying by the time this episode goes live tomorrow, you will be able to go to the domain of this product and sign up to become a member of Mostly Technical.
What?
For
That's
free.
Huge. That's huge.
It's just going to put you on a list in a database. Not much of the other functionality there exists yet. So you won't be getting any emails just yet.
Nothing is going to happen, but we will create a row for you.
Yes, you will be a row in the database, and soon stuff will be happening, and then you will get those updates.
This is huge.
So it's so that's one. Talk about that if you want in a minute. We got sponsorship sales, right? I built this little sponsorship selling tool for us to use. Expand that so that anybody with podcasts can have this nice, easy way to sell sponsorships. I think that's a pretty straightforward one, sort of. Although there's obviously different types of sponsorships. Well, there's a lot of stuff there, but I think we can do a basic version of that. That makes sense. And the other thing, this is maybe a little farther out there. I haven't totally decided if I want to do this yet, but would be like basically a buffer replacement, like social media posting.
Yep.
So it's like, again, like kind of specific, like more tailored to the podcast. Like maybe it knows about the podcast, it has the transcripts, it can write some spiffy little things and set them to go out throughout the week and just make sure you're like doing that kind of marketing stuff. That's the biggest, most complicated thing of any of this. So definitely not early, and probably wouldn't happen until I saw there was a little more like financial traction, but it is an interesting idea, I think, because it's like you pay for buffer, but you're only using it for your podcast, and buffer's pretty expensive. I'm a Buffer shareholder, and I don't want to take business away from Buffer necessarily.
Oh my
but
goodness.
They're huge.
This is
We're
anti-talk in your
little.
book.
We're little, so it's fine. Yeah, so that's kind of the businessy end. I think there's probably other things to be done there too, but that's sort of the like phase one idea of businessy stuff for the product. What do you think about that?
I think it's great. I think one, maybe I'm just most excited that you're excited and building something. I'm so just here for it. Yeah.
Feeding off the energy.
I don't have to give, excruciating updates every week. Now we can just hear about, you're off in Wonderland building stuff, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I agree that the Buffer integration should probably come last, if ever. Especially if you're going to try to post to x.com, the Everything app, because their API is a disaster. So
pay and all that stuff,
it's a nightmare. The sponsorship one is interesting, especially I think, and the reason I call that one the white whale is I feel like a lot of people have tried to tackle like sponsorship networks, kind of, where it's like, hey, you just do the podcast and we'll bring you ads, and there's always like, we'll give you $8 to talk about dog food. And you're like, well, that kind of ruins the show. So that'll be interesting. I didn't hear you say it'll be a marketplace, but more as just a way where the people can easily collect payment and that sort of thing. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I think phase one is definitely just like what we use for Mostly Technical. It's like there's a nice, easy form. You have a description. People, maybe there's some different types of ads and combinations, number of units you can buy, whatever. People can buy them. It handles the transaction. I have to figure out how that works with some via Stripe in some way. And that's kind of it. I do think if it gets bigger and you have enough podcasts using it, you could maybe get into some interesting stuff like, maybe if a big advertiser wants to advertise across a larger group of podcasts and people opt into this and whatever, blah, blah. So I think there's some interesting stuff there, but I think that's like pretty far down the road of like, nobody's going to be interested in that until there's a lot of podcasts on the platform. And so we'll kind of cross
and
that
honestly,
bridge when we get to it.
98% of podcasts don't do sponsors and are probably unsponsorable, to be frank.
So this is where members is kind of the number one thing to me, because it's like this, like you should have an email list of the people who listen to your podcast, because then you have this other way to reach them. You can send them things. So that to me is like phase one. You can have it for free. You can have them paid for if you think you can support paid members. And then, so that's the one, like the businessy tool I think the most people could potentially use. And then there's the sponsorships, which definitely less. And then the Buffer thing is more like everybody could use that also, but it is a much harder thing to build. So yeah.
Okay, so this feels like something that Transistor should acquire. I mean, because at some point, I feel like at some point it makes the most sense to have like the hosting in there with it.
Okay, so I've thought a lot about that.
Tell me.
I think there's a couple interesting things there. First of all, podcast hosting's been around forever, since the beginning of podcasting.
Right.
None of the tools have anything like this.
Correct.
So I think there's a reason for that. I don't think it's that they haven't thought of it. I think it's that it's sort of the reverse. When I was thinking about this, I was like, okay, like I want all these planning tools, right? And I was like, it could make sense to have the hosting in here. You could imagine, like you said, that being the case. But I think the thing is, once you add the hosting becomes the main thing you have to talk about, because you're going to then have the whole thing be like, oh, you got to move your podcast over here, right? And then you get all these tools. And I think it's like how GoDaddy will sell you a bunch of bullshit to go with your domain purchase, but really what they do is sell domains, right? So like I think when it's in the podcast hosting platform, like there's so much work and so much stuff that goes into the podcast hosting that you're tacking on some like tools to it it's not going to be like what gets marketed, and so it's not going to be what people are using.
I see. That's interesting.
The other aspect of it is I think there's a lot more podcasts nowadays. And again, this is where this tool is in some ways for podcasts a little bit farther along. It's a little mixed, and I have to get that vision a little bit right, because some of the different tools this isn't true for. But in general, I think the tools for podcasts a little farther along. And for those podcasts, like if you're on Spotify, well, you're not going to Transistor or Libsyn. If you're in a podcast network, you're going to use whatever the network uses, right? Or like there's a lot of shows out there now that they're not moving hosts, right? They're not moving hosts no matter what. So I think the planning tools decoupled This is why I did that intro, right? I think you have the recording. The podcast hosts also don't do recording, which wouldn't it make tons of sense
to me. Yeah.
for them to do recording, right? Like,
Crazy.
why don't they do recording?
Should all be right here.
Riverside doesn't offer hosting and publishing, right? Everybody, they don't do these things, and I don't think it's an accident. I think Riverside understands they could host the audio they create and effectively host. They could basically put an RSS feed on it and it would be podcast hosting, right? But they don't. So as the industry matures, might things acquire other things, and sure, all that stuff always happens, right? But like, yeah, I don't know. It could be.
So you view the lack of media as an advantage because then nobody has to switch.
Yes, I think I don't want to talk to people about you must switch from my perspective. So forget what the hosts think. From my perspective, I feel like switching your hosting is a freaking huge, scary thing, right? And like, big time. I don't want to be convincing people to move their hosting, and I don't want to build hosting, and I'm not interested in hosting at all. But even that's secondary because I don't think getting people to switch, even forget about your Spotify shows. I think if somebody came to us and was like, hey, switch off Transistor and come over here because we got this planning tool. I don't know. I feel like that's a hard sell to make that part of it.
I agree. Makes onboarding very difficult.
So this way, the onboarding is so easy. It's like, give us your RSS feed. We'll suck in your show artwork and stuff. We'll auto update when you publish. We'll like match it up with the episode. So you have like, that's all connected. And you can have different podcasts on different networks, right? Like I've known people who have that, like whatever, it doesn't matter. You can use this to plan anything. The other little idea sticking in my head is that this isn't only for podcasts.
What?
So is it for YouTube videos that are podcast-ish? You know, where obviously not your off the cuff, not even the kind of videos you do, but if you have, I mean, you know, there's a ton of YouTube channels that are basically podcasts, right? But they may not even have a podcast version. They are just YouTube videos or they're interview shows or whatever. So I think there's some other stuff too, where like they're dealing with email inbound for feedback. They're dealing with organizing the show.
Memberships.
They have guests. They want members. Like, so I think that there's some overlap in other areas potentially too. Which again, I just feel like if you build it all around the hosting, now this is a podcast hosting platform that does some other stuff, as opposed to being like where you can just totally focus on like planning, organization, monetization of your show, whether that's YouTube or podcast. I'm only going to talk about it in terms of podcasts because I think that's makes the most sense to start.
Yeah, but for sure. And that's what you know.
Yeah, that's what I know. I think that's got the most, it connects up with those things better. I could work with the hosting companies, definitely, obviously Transistor. I want to talk to Justin about this, but you know, the other ones too, like I think there's opportunities to talk to them about stuff. Yeah, that's kind of that angle on it.
You know what other segment you need? You need a follow-up.
Well, that's kind of like the mailbag, but you can
kind of. But I'm thinking like
just a label
you
for
and
follow-up.
I, you and I like talk about a thing. We're like, oh, we need to get back to that, and then of course we never get back to that ever again. But that would be something we would use.
I also thought about like even just this morning I was like, oh, I forget what I was even thinking about, but I was like, oh, did we talk about that last week? And just having some type of like quick way the AI to summarize, like here's the things you talked about last week. Here, you know, just like here's the themes you've had the last 4 weeks or whatever on the show. Just like kind of get your head in that space of like, oh yeah, we talked about this and this and this last week or whatever. Like, I don't know. I think there's like little subtle things like that. There's an AI bot called Gopher. Gopher can do things for you.
You already named it?
Yeah, Gopher. You know, like
how long have you been working on this?
Television set, you got a Gopher who runs and does stuff for you.
Of course.
Gopher can like, you know, add segments or create episodes or search the transcripts for stuff or whatever, do things like that.
Ian, you've been holding out on me. You got a whole thing.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's only 3 weeks old. I've been holding out. We only did 2 shows since I started this.
You've made a lot of progress. That's pretty impressive.
The AI, man, it's helpful for getting. Gopher is not really built at all, so Gopher doesn't exist. Gopher is just an input box on the screen and a cool name. So he's not with us.
Okay, so you oversold that one a little bit.
He'll be there for launch though, at least in some basic form, because he's going to be like the search. There has to be some basic search and stuff. So he'll be there in a basic form. I don't know. He'll do everything. He's capable of at that point.
All right, I want to talk about the business side of this. Is this going to make you money? And I want to hear the name. But should we do a little segment before that?
We should pay the bills.
Pay the bills.
All right. Oh geez. All right. See if we
if
have
only we had ian'scooltool.com.
Yes, then we would know. All right. I don't even remember which ones I did first last time. See, this is what I'm talking about.
Disaster.
When you buy an ad, it'll be auto-placed into an episode that could be randomized, whatever.
But also still buy ads. Even before we get there, please keep buying ads.
Buy the ads. If you want to see this product come to fruition, I gotta keep the kids fed. Buy the ads.
That's right.
All right. This week, brought to us by WorkOS Auth Kit. Laravel 12's new starter kits include WorkOS Auth Kit, future-proof your authentication stack with the identity layer trusted by OpenAI, Cursor, Perplexity, and Vercel. Check them out at workos.com. I've been using them for the new project. It's very good. I like it a lot. Also by our friends over at Bento, the refreshingly better email sending platform. Send your product emails, marketing emails, transactional emails. When you outgrow the little tiny mailing list thing that'll be in this new product and you need tags and all kinds of fancy stuff to sell courses, all this stuff, go to bentonow.com and do that, which we could have like an importer exporter kind of thing. That'd be cool. All right. And finally, by Laracon 2025, Laracon is calling all web artisans, come to Denver, ready to level up, leave ready to ship. This is, I think, the last week or very soon. Anyway, the pricing is going up. So if you're going to buy that ticket and come see us, say hi, all the stuff, see Taylor, Laravel crew, which is going to be like, I don't even know. It's like 1/10 of the whole conference is going to be Laravel
100 Laravel employees by the time it shows up.
Yeah. I'm not sure how they're going to work all that out, but it's a good thing they got a bigger venue. So definitely urging you to purchase some tickets to Laracon US. I think it's going to be a great event. I know also too, this is going to be, they gave us a little back channel info here that they're going to be ordering all the swag soon. So if you want the swag in your size and all that stuff, you want to get that ticket soon. Go ahead and check them out. Laracon.us. Come say hi, and we will see you pretty soon now. 5 weeks.
Very soon.
So yeah,
very soon. I'm already having nightmares about being on stage doing the wrong thing. Also,
no.
I'm out there door to door selling tickets. I got 2 old coworkers from the old property tax firm. They're gonna come.
There we go. I'll get to meet these guys. That'll be cool.
It's gonna be so fun. We're gonna have one of my friends and the first person that I hired, Brian, will be there, and then our favorite Canadian from the Great White North, Spencer, will be there.
Canadians are so good. I love
Canadians are so good. And get this, he's a Canadian Mormon. So he's the nicest person that has ever existed anywhere in the universe.
He's walking around. He's watching where he walks. He didn't step on any ants.
It's unbelievable. It's just you can't have a better combo. So if you want to see Brian and Spencer, you got to come to Laracon.
I thought we had a lot of good reasons, but now
I know, but now we have more.
Yes.
I know. All right, I want to hear the name. I want to hear the name, the journey to what I hope is a .com. And then we got to talk. Oh shoot! And then we got to talk a little bit about business, the business of organizing podcasts.
That just made me think. One little feature, another little feature. I just got to mention quickly because I'm very proud.
We
of
love
this
features. We love features.
I'm very proud of this one. So we use Trello. Sometimes I put stuff on the Trello board. I don't want you to see it. Like I want it to be there, so I remember.
Right.
I don't want you to be spoiled on it.
No, that's
so
the whole
when you
thing.
add a segment, you could check the little box if it's a spoiler, and the title will be hidden. So
I love that.
That's so good. It's like that little stuff that Trello's never going to add that, but it's such a nice little thing when I have something that I want your natural reaction. I don't want you to know about it before we go on the show. And whatever, you could click into it and see it. There's not security, right? But it's like you see it, you know you didn't add it, you leave it alone. Great.
And now I'm excited.
Now you're excited because
now I get to say, what are we hiding? This is great.
Yes.
Yeah, I dig.
All right, business.
No, name.
Well, yeah, that name. So name, I didn't really have a good name. I was floundering.
Oh, he's already downplaying it. I'm worried. No. I'm worried.
I was unhappy with the naming situation, and I can't work on something without the name. Like I physically can't do it. I need the name, and I was working on it obviously because I didn't have the name even after we last talked, I guess, or was it 2 weeks ago? I don't know, whatever it was. But you kicked me, and you're like, okay. You're okay, even though I didn't follow a lot of your advice, and I didn't go with the prefix to get the .com.
I don't follow a lot of your advice, even though it's very good. Exactly. So we'll call it even.
But it kicked me in the right direction because I was going a different direction. I was floundering, and I wanted something short, And I wanted to have something to do with podcasting, with recording. Like I want it to be in that vein.
Okay.
So the name is outro.fm. And just outro is the name. So it's hooked in with the outro.
Pretty good.
It's pretty good. You
very
like it?
Short and it's radio. That's pretty good. I'll concede the .com for the .fm being correct for the domain
for the product.
The business.
Yeah.
And that's pretty good. How'd you get outro.fm?
Well, here's the crazy part. It was freaking available, and I just paid the $100 or whatever it was, and I got the domain. I didn't have to pay any ransom at all. Isn't that was like, I was like, well, this is meant, there was two meant to be things. One is like, I was talking to my daughter about it, who's 12. And she's like, oh yeah, like outros, like YouTube videos have outros. And I was like, yes, some types of YouTube videos do have outros. So the youth, they know about it. Great.
They know.
And then, yeah, the domain was available. I was like, I'd never checked for a domain and domain be straight available. Like usually it's
like the 90s again, man.
It's like the 90s. So I was like, okay, that's it. We're doing it. It's nice and short. It's nice and tight. It's a real word. People in the industry know it.
Great one. There's no filler word, so we're not going to call it get outro.
Filler. Yep.
It's one word, which is crazy.
One word. It's 5 letters.
There's no silly animal attached to it.
No.
And frankly, the .fm, it works.
It works in this case, right?
It could even be a positive. Yeah.
I mean, and Riverside.fm, Transistor.fm, whatever. There's tons of .fm tools. So this is like I feel comfortable with it,
I take full credit for this. This is a great name. This is a great name.
Other bad names. I didn't like any of them. You kicked me in the right direction.
Give us one of the bad ones.
Oh, geez. One was, well, okay. So the original name I wanted, which wasn't a bad name in terms of what it was Showrunner. I wanted to call it Showrunner.
That's not bad.
It's not a bad name, but there's a lot of other tools called Showrunner.
Right.
All the domains are taken. All the trademarks are the exact kind of idea, even though the company that has that trademark doesn't use it. So it's like, well, could I acquire it? It gets a whole complicated thing. It's like, I'm not getting into all that. There was like, I had the idea.
Also, it's a little inside baseball. Not a lot of people probably know what showrunners are.
Yeah, I was worried about that a little bit too. And it's longer, it's like, it's also a real thing in the sense of like, it's a real job. And so is that maybe even confusing or things like that? So I went farcical. So what I was going with the MailChimp, I was going through that whole thing, right? Like, okay, like, can we make that work? So it's like Show King. And I was like, well, that's kind of interesting. You got like little paper crowns we give out at the party, right? Like,
do something cool kitschy name. With it, yeah.
Yeah, do something kitschy. It's available. I think it was like $10,000, but whatever, it's available. And that would be a .com. But then I was like, I don't know if I can am I going to be able to be farcical enough to pull this off? Like, I don't know if I have that in me. So choking.
Yeah. Choking.com.
There's like show.fm was available for $20,000, but again, it's super generic. It's like too generic. It's like show. How do you even talk about it?
Outro.fm is better than show.fm for sure.
I think so, right? Yeah. It's more brandable. There's like no trademarks on the word outro of anything related. There's like 10 total, none of them related. Yeah. So it's like wide open, which is wild to me. So outro.fm.
That's great. No notes. No notes.
Go to outro.fm and sign up to be a free member of Mostly Technical so you can, get on the list.
So something can happen at some undetermined point in the future.
Will happen in the future.
But if you're not on the list, you won't find out. So go sign up.
Go sign up. So that's the name. And you like it. Approved.
I like it. Approved. Wow. Great name. Outro, great word, one word. I just can't believe it was fully available.
I know. Me either.
It's great.
I was doing the double checking, like, am I not spelling it correctly?
Right. Outro. Shoot. Outro, how about outro?
Oh, 2 O's. Oh, shit. Yeah. So I even have a name. If I ever do a podcast for the product, I kind of like the idea of like, kind of like an interview show, outro intros. Outro intros is the name of the podcast.
It writes itself.
This
is great.
It's good. It all works together. So
everything's coming up, Ian. I love this.
Yeah. So the only part that might not come up, Ian, is the money.
We'll see the business side.
The business side, I'm a little worried about. I don't want to take too long on this. We got other stuff to talk about, but let's do a few minutes of it.
We've got a lot to talk about. Here are my qualms on the business side.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I need to update these priors, but podcasters seemingly have no money.
Yes.
Transistor, I say we need to update it because Transistor seems to be doing wonderfully. So maybe there's more going on than it seems.
But it's also a required tool, right? It's absolutely required, where this is not required.
This is the other thing. I don't know how many podcasters take it seriously or like we'll back down from take it seriously and say like plan, like
right.
prepare, have this need at all, you know?
Yes, agree.
So I don't know. So for the people that have the need, like us, I think it's great, and I want to use it yesterday. I don't know where I stand in majority minority. In fact, I know that I'm in the minority, but I don't know how small that minority is of podcast hosts that want something like this. What are your thoughts there?
Agree. Yes, agree with all that. Looked into like the podcast industry in general. I think there's something like 4 million active shows, which is not a huge number, right? Like compared to help desk software, which is every business and organization on the face of the earth,
right?
Or 4 million shows is far less than that. So it's not a huge opportunity in that regard. It's definitely not $1 billion company idea, right? This is like if it makes a little money, that would be great.
Okay. We don't need $1 billion,
which is fine.
And if you just get 1% of that, that's something that starts with a 4 and is probably a big number. Yeah, some number of zeros, like something like that. That's great.
So so I agree with all that. So here's what I think about for that is I think most people podcasting do something to plan.
Okay.
Even if it's just a Google Doc, even if it's just the Notes app, like there are definitely some who are not doing anything, or I'm just on the mic talking about whatever, and that's fine. That's definitely not for them. But I think especially once you have a host, a co-host, we start to require some type of planning on some level and things like that. The feedback email part, that's still a thing, even if it's just for yourself. Again, for yourself, you can have just a Gmail account. But once again, you have a host and you have some email coming in, how do you organize that? So the way I'm thinking about it is that the planning parts, at least for like, if you're 2 hosts with no producer, you're 2 hosts, that's just free. Because that's the only way to get people off of Trello, get them off of Google Docs. Like if it's like, Trello's annoying, but it works and it's free. Like, are you going to pay me $30 to come? Again, a more serious podcast might, right? Because they're like, this is just better. But for people just starting out or people who are taking it slightly less seriously, it's free. Now, I'm toying with the idea of free with an asterisk, which is there's no money, but you have to put a link in your show notes. Like plan with outro.fm or something like that, right?
Yep, easy.
So I kind of like the idea, even if we don't like enforce it strictly, it's just like it's just a thing, the expectation, whatever. So that could be a little
you could
marketing.
Enforce it. You could enforce it via RSS pretty easily.
Could easily enforce it. So I think that could be a thing too. I think I wouldn't enforce that first. And if it's like, well, tons of people are using it and nobody's putting the link in, like maybe send them a nice reminder that they're supposed to do this or whatever. Whatever. It could be an interesting thing to play with. Then I think maybe you start to do some tiers. Like if you have a producer, well, now you have a producer. Like you could pay something to use this, right? So like, I don't know. I don't want it to be too cheap ideally, but I don't know what we can get away with. But like,
that's my question as well.
So I don't know. It's hard because the hosting products are pretty cheap.
And I feel like that puts a ceiling on what you can charge.
For this part of the product, I think it does. So maybe it ends up being like, hey, if you have a producer and you get a lot of email, it's like, there's some $29, $39 kind of tier. That's the bottom. Another way to go about it is we don't worry about that. I am, in a position where like I have another product that makes money. I don't have to totally worry about this thing making money day one. So it's like maybe that all the planning stuff is free always.
Okay.
It's the business stuff you have to pay for. So like once you want to have members, like that's a tier where you start paying some base fee and maybe so much per member. There's another tool called Glow.fm, which is just membership for podcasts, which somebody did buy, and it charges an insane amount of money. It was like 55 cents per member per month is the cost of having members. It's a ton. When you look at like ConvertKit, or I don't know, Bento's pricing, I think it's similar. It's basically a penny, even on the lowest tiers, or 2 pennies for a person on the list, basically, like the way they calculate it. So whatever, it could be
people
way less.
People will be way more
cents.
Likely to pay if people are paying them. So if this membership thing becomes like, Patreon competitor, then yeah, people will be fine paying that. I think if you can do the whole like replace your cal.com, Trello, Google Docs, Patreon, all of that, then the pricing becomes different than, it's just like a Trello competitor.
Go to outro.fm right now.
Oh, shoot. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's there. That's exactly how I positioned it. Is that. And so then there is
literally says replace Trello, Patreon, MailChimp, Google Docs, Gmail, Buffer, Dropbox, and more. Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So the thing I hate leaving off the table if it's all free for the planning stuff is like, yeah, like some Spotify shows use us and they just use the planning because they can't even use the membership. They can't even use the sponsorship. Like they're owned by Spotify or whatever, right? Like feels annoying to let them use it for free when they're owned by Spotify and they'd probably pay us money. So there might be something there still with like, well, there's maybe it's like 2 hosts and a producer is free. But if you want more hosts and you want a bigger mailbag, there could be some tier
like
type stuff
first
like that.
30 episodes are free.
Something like that.
Once you prove you're like a serious podcaster and like you've planned 30 episodes in outro, you're not gonna
bailing.
off.
You found it useful. Ooh.
Yeah. So maybe instead
of a huge free trial, like it's like a massive free trial.
Because most podcasts aren't going to hit 30 anyway.
Right.
But yeah, and then maybe after that, it's like, okay, planning stuff just costs $19 a month now, $9 a month now, whatever. You don't want to lose it, so you're going to pay. But still, the other stuff is more expensive.
Right. And the other stuff too can have a percentage potentially. I wouldn't want to go crazy because I'd want it to be like about the podcasters making good money and not charging what Patreon charges or whatever. But like, you could imagine like, well, we get 7% of the membership fee, which like 3% we use to pay Stripe or whatever. And we're keeping 4% for the service and sending emails and because there are like hard costs with that stuff. So something like that. Same with the sponsorship, maybe like instead of paying Stripe 3%, but having to build all that stuff yourself or use some form builder that you jerry rig into selling sponsorships or whatever. Again, we get a few percent on top or whatever. So there is some stuff there. Hard to know. Although, I mean, Patreon's a big business. So I guess there is money in some of that. More than just podcasters there, of course. But so I don't know. That's the part that I want the tool and I want to use it. And that's why I want it to be free so other people can use it. And then how it makes money is a little fuzzier. Like I think there's the shell of an
You love
idea.
making money.
I do like making money. But also, hey, like if we get 100 people paying us and we can average it to like, I would hate for it to average $9. That probably wouldn't be ideal for me. But if we can find a way to have bigger shows get enough value out of it where it's like, we can pay $99 a month between some combination of tools or whatever, that's worth it for us, then, I mean, heck, you could even do,
here we go,
like buy your listener count or something. Like if you have less than 2,000 listeners, it's just free. And if you have, you know what I mean? It's like, it's quasi honor system, obviously, but like, whatever, who cares? Like, and then it's like, whatever, if you're the ringer verse and you have the rewatchables and get millions of listens, like, yeah, for you, it's $300 a month or whatever. Like, it doesn't have to be crazy, but like, there's a difference there versus, person who just started a podcast or person with a 10-year-old podcast, but it doesn't have many listeners, right? Like, who isn't necessarily inclined to pay $99 a month for it. So could be interesting.
Could be very interesting. Yeah, I think you should absolutely keep going. You got the madness right now, which is good.
I do have the madness.
We want that. It will be an interesting storyline.
It's for the show, at the least.
Yes, it will be an interesting storyline to track the business side of it, because one thing I do like is from the technical side, it's kind of easy.
It's a lot of crud stuff. Yeah,
it's a lot of it's a lot of plumbing, but you're not fundamentally inventing anything new, really. You're just keeping track of stuff, which is easy. So I love that part. The business risk is that there aren't enough people that want it, and that's gonna make great content. So you got to keep going. Just do it.
We got 10,000 users. They're all free. We have 7 paid members. What happened?
Oh man!
Like the wildly successful while nobody pays you.
Right.
I mean, that's where part of me just wants. We could end up making the whole thing free to start, and it's like with again the little asterisk of like put it in the show notes and we will charge for this someday and then see where it goes. I don't know. It's different. I think I want to have something paid probably from the start, but it could be we don't need it to necessarily make money day one, so we have some flexibility there. But yeah,
another segment that you need.
Give it to me.
Voicemails.
Oh, voicemails. Oh, yes. And then people can play it on the show.
Play it on the show.
Stuff. Like you get a text message number that people can.
There are a whole
call in, or a phone number that people can call into.
There are whole like indie SaaS businesses built around call-in pods and stuff.
Shows,
So yeah, I think
it's kind of an interesting app because I feel like the 80% use case is like topics in a rundown, which is like the technical term, right? And like, but then there's like a lot of 20% use cases. Like, yeah, we have guests and we need a calendar. Oh, we do call-ins, and like it would be cool if it did the call-ins, right? So there's gonna be a lot of these type of things where like it will be the type of product I think that's like a lot of the features are only used by 20%, but it's just that each podcaster uses a different grouping of the 20%, right? So
you put all of those in the paid tier.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, definitely, of course, like voicemails would have to be in the paid tier.
Voicemails,
and stuff like that, so.
even like inbound mailbag, like all of that should be paid tier for sure.
Mailbag, I feel like is so useful though. My thinking of that was something more like it's free for your inbound mail, and like, but you can only write back to like 10 a week or something. There's some like keeping it with small shows. I hate to not have that included in the free tier in some way, I think, because it's so useful. Anyway, we'll figure it out.
You know what? Could be free?
What's that?
It could be free to have mostly technical at outro.fm. So if you don't pay,
the domain.
Yeah, if you don't pay, you have to publicly announce on every episode, send us an email at blah 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 at outro.fm, and people are like, what is this outro.fm?
That's interesting.
Custom domains cost money.
Don't let them forward their existing email, or they could forward it into the outro domain. See, they would just forward it into the outro domain.
Some people would,
but I think they should have that anyway, because some people won't, and then this is just free advertising, which I definitely like that idea. So we're definitely
that's what
that.
I'm thinking.
But that could work into the tier also. Or I mean, definitely, I always thought you were going more with like if you wanted to then respond and stuff from your actual domain instead of it would probably just come from outro by default, because like this way you don't have to
you're gonna have to set
records and
DNS
all that stuff.
and DCAM and all that.
Yeah. So
we'll have
that
to have
would definitely
Jesse do all of that stuff for you.
Yeah, I should talk to him about this. Yeah.
You should. He's listening. Jesse, I know you're at the gym right now. You should DM Ian on Telegram because he left x.com.
Yeah, do it. And I don't know, do they do like an API thing there or something? I don't know what he does. He does so much stuff. The tool has like 70,000 things it does, Bento.
It does.
Like, so I don't even know what it all does, but maybe they do have a transactional
actually
kind of email thing.
I know that they do transactional. Bento could totally be your email sender for sure.
Okay, I haven't even thought about that at all. I've only ever used Postmark for that kind of thing. Well, I used SendGrid once, but I would never use SendGrid again. But all right, hold on, I gotta write this down.
Good idea. Worth the price of the show right here.
Yes. Interesting typing noises for the listeners. All right, so we spent a long time on that. There will be future updates. Sign up at outro.fm. Aaron will be able to send you stuff. I'll be able to send you stuff. It'll be cool.
If you send us stuff, I'll be able to read it.
You'll be able to read. Aaron will actually be able to read
80 episodes in, I'll be able to read it.
All right, let's pay some bills. And then
because we got a big segment coming.
That was the big segment. That was the little segment.
That was the little
segment. Let's do with the little. We'll start with the little segment.
That was the appetizer.
Yes.
So before the big segment, I would like to thank Forward MX for sponsoring the show. Forward MX is an email forwarding service, great for side projects. Collect all of the emails from your different domains in a single central inbox, like your Gmail, and reply from your domains using our SMTP functionality. You can check them out at forwardmx.net of an email tool. Also, again, brought to you by Inside the Family, Native PHP. Join the revolution, build awesome native mobile apps without leaving your happy place. Get 10% off your first year through the end of June. Oh, it's coming up. Through the end of June 2025 with code Mostly Technical. Check them out at nativephp.com/mobile if you want to build mobile apps with the framework that you know and love, which of course is Laravel.
Thank you.
Thank you for sponsoring the show. All right. Are we doing this?
I think you said we're doing it, so let's do
58 minutes in. Time to drop the bomb.
Okay.
Partner Steve, producer Steve is moving on. Setting sail for greener pastures. I don't know if you set sail for pastures.
I don't think you should say your pastures
bluer waters. He's setting sail.
Open sea.
Yeah. So I got back from Guy's trip I think it was maybe 1 or 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And the next day I talked to Steve and he was like, I think I got to go. I think I got to move on. I know.
Holy cow.
I know. Big surprise. Not like totally blindsided because we've talked, Steve and I talk multiple times a day, and I think we have a very good, healthy relationship. And so I knew that it was like, oh man, I don't know if I can keep doing this. I don't know if this is what I want to keep doing. He's also currently building a house, and so he's got a lot of just got a lot of stuff going on.
Financial pressures of running
Financial
your own business
pressures,
and all that stuff.
yeah. So there's obviously a lot going on in both of our lives. But we talked about it for a good while, and he's going to move on. What? I'm not quite sure. He's not quite sure. So if you want an A player, you got to reach out to Steve and hire him. So I think the long and short of it is he believes focusing on database courses is the right move for the business. He's like, yeah, I think that is the obvious thing to do, and maybe even something he's been pushing for, a long time. He's always said, like, databases make sense. Nobody else is doing it. We make money. Like, let's do that. So he's on board with that vision. What he's not on board with is like where that takes his career, which is something that like I can't really argue with. And I think where he wants to take his career is back towards the SaaS side of the house. And so thinking about being the background guy, frankly, for a business model that he's like, like not really something I want to build my career doing. Putting those things together is like, maybe it's time to move on. And so he is. So it's just me over at the Try Hard studio.
There's a lot to talk about. This is not going to be an hour and 5-minute show. Everybody.
No. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next week.
You should stop the show there. That would be funny.
We'll follow up next week with the rest of the story.
No, or don't even. We just leave it. That's it. That's the segment. Man, I have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of questions. I think it does make sense, especially if do you think it was like once you decide to go databases, right, and just stay in courses and because even early on, you guys had some other ideas for like software and other things, right? So once you're like, okay, like the databases or even courses in general, but especially databases, I think after, I'm assuming maybe like screencasting not working out is like a factor in here too, both financially, but even for his end where he was going to be, he was more involved in kind of like the face of that, not the full face, but he did some of the course parts of it and whatever. If like if like that the course sort of requirements of like, well, we got to always be shipping new courses, that's how you make money, we haven't unlocked the recurring revenue aspects of that on a sufficient scale. You think that, I guess that part of it sounds like it's maybe part of it in terms of like that flywheel.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was a combination of working extremely hard on a business model that he doesn't like feel in his bones is something that he really wants to do, and also it's not something that's like super exitable, so he could work super hard on something that he doesn't like fully feel aligned with if in the end there's like, hey, and then we're going to exit for $5 million. And I just don't think that is realistic for a course business. And so it was kind of a confluence of working super hard on something that he doesn't feel super passionate about. And in the end, there's no big carrot. Which makes sense.
I think that makes sense. I mean, I think there's like, it's like my brother has a consulting company. I think I've talked about before, and it's like they do well. But the thing with the consulting company, right, is like there's not really ever the big exit, like because you are the company. So even if they have 20 employees or whatever, but there's still never going to be like that, oh, let me pay you an outsized amount of money, because somebody can't really take this business and just run it and make money without once you
services
leave,
firm.
Once you leave, like the whole thing gets a lot shakier. So like the value of the whole thing goes down a lot. And so and similar with this, I mean, I think if you do unlock the recurring revenue part, then that's different. But if not, then it's like, well, Aaron's kind of the face of it, and he has to make new courses twice a year at least, or whatever the frequency ends up being, and that's just it. If that stops happening, then the money stops coming in, which is not ideal from a exit perspective for sure, but can be ideal from a actual live your life and make money, it can be, but you might not. Yeah, you probably don't have the big sale at the end.
Yeah, and in the end, kind of no matter what happens, I walk away with more of like the non-monetary capital than he does.
Yes, for sure.
And that's like we knew that going in. We've talked about it a ton, and it's just like a real thing. So yeah, I think it's been very amicable. There's no like.
Okay.
There's no fighting, there's no arguing. Like, he has said, hey, I want to make this as clean as possible. I'll give you everything. You pay me this amount. And like, well, from a company perspective, I'm gone. Like, we still talk. But so that's been really nice. He gave me a couple of different like scenarios of things like I could choose from with different levers to pull. And so from that perspective, like, that couldn't have gone any better. Like, if he was like,
pick one, is it
I picked one,
you're set
paid
up?
him out the first half, second half will be paid out at the end of this year. He's shipping me his, Mac Studio, he's shipping me his hard drive, like the stuff that the company bought.
The company owns.
Yeah. And so it's very clean, very non-confrontational. It's just like, hey, let's separate cleanly. Here's how I think it could be a clean separation. And then of course he's still around, because I'm like, hey, how did you do this thing? He's like, oh yeah, let me send you the files for it.
All right, that's great. So, it's amicable, so it's not like,
dude, he's not like, I'm out, by the way, thanks for my 50%. Can you keep paying me out quarterly distributions? Like, have fun. Which is totally possible, right?
There's ways around that, but it could happen. Yes,
of course. Yeah. So I'm just glad that we don't have to do any of that at all. And so back in the day when I worked with Colleen, that's how I left. I was like, I don't think this is working. Here's the entire company. I should have asked for some payout. That would have been smarter on my part. But I was like, I don't think this is working.
You guys were less far along, though.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Yeah.
Like, I think overall
made way, way, way less money. And so it's nice to have that come back around, to have a co-founder like decide that they need to move on from me and say, just take it all. Like, I'm not going to fight you over it. Yeah. And so it's one of those things where it's like it feels like a breakup, but it feels like one of those breakups where it's like, man, we really like each other, but this isn't working, is it? Right. Or like, you want to move to Paris and I want to keep living here in Texas. Like, all right, well, I guess that's it then.
That kind of settles it. Right?
Yeah. It's like, you want something else for your life, or in this case, your career. And so while we still really enjoy working together, it's like, you need to go like live your dreams. Don't stick around here for me. And so that's what's gonna happen.
Wow.
Crazy, huh?
That's crazy. I wonder if people will have seen this coming or not. That's interesting. What do you think about, I want to dig, okay, so I mean, it sounds like we don't have a lot of meat on the bone of sounds like you came to an agreement, everybody's happy, ish, in terms of nobody's angry at each other, and it's amicable. So there's a couple things. I want to dig a little more into the past, and then I want to talk about the future, right? So past wise, I will say one thing that's kind of concerned me about this from the beginning, and I don't know, it'd be interesting, I think, just to discuss it for the people out there who might think about having partnerships and stuff, is like, it felt to me maybe like, I just feel like you were bringing more than he was. And this is not a negative to him in any way, but I feel like you were going to be the face. You had this established brand, right? And so part of me thinks that it being 50-50 is maybe not ideal from a few perspectives. And even from his, in a sense of like, if it had been 70-30, maybe he wouldn't have even done it, in a sense. Because, you know what I'm saying? But that's because it's a reflection of the actual value each partner is bringing. And again, I don't think he's not valuable, but I'm saying, like, you're the face. People are buying the courses because they like Aaron Francis. Like, that is sort of the deal, right? And so there's just an element there that I think is kind of interesting, where like, when you hash these things out in the beginning differently, I wonder if you get a sort of different dynamic or setup. Now, that's not to say if he didn't do it, that would be that's a whole different path, right? And you guys have done some good stuff together, so it's not like that's bad at all. So it's not even like, it's just, I don't know. There's just something that hits me about the idea of like, when you're starting a partnership, which I've never really done, working it out to be like, well, that's actually not true. But the percentages are important, I guess that's always been my feeling on it. And if they're not right, then it might throw off things a little bit.
And I will say, to balance that out, he did buy into, the business,
right,
where I did
so there
not.
Was some stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So there was consideration given for not necessarily value, but like pre-existing capital. You know what I mean?
Right. And screencasting.com and stuff, which had just launched. And yeah.
So there was consideration given for that. But in the end, we were 50-50 partners, which I liked. Everybody says don't do it. But I like the we're both rowing the same direction kind of feel. So yeah, I don't know if I would do anything differently there or not.
What's your thoughts on partnersps? Because now you've had a couple.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't totally worked out, I guess, in the end.
In fact, they haven't worked out at all.
We can go less politically correct and say they haven't worked out at all.
They haven't worked out at all. I will say this
what do you think?
This one was wildly successful until it wasn't. So that one worked. This one, the most recent one, worked out great until it was
clearly
over.
Not a absolute failure or anything. I mean, you guys
no
got out from working at plan scale, and you successfully launched courses.
Yep,
I think
made a bunch of money.
Successfully launch courses in the future if he wanted to stay on and keep doing that. I don't think it was that kind of failure where we just couldn't work together, or the business didn't work because we were trying to bring different things or whatever. Definitely was nothing like that. So in that regard, it's definitely not a failure, and you shipped stuff and all that. So it wasn't we were going to do this and we never even launched a course and whatever.
Yeah,
so
we did much better together than I think I would have done alone. Now, thoughts on partnerships. I'm not rushing into another one, that's for sure. So I totally understand his reasoning. I also feel sad that we used to talk on the phone 3 or 4 times a day,
Right, wow.
And now it's well, I guess I'll just, look at my computer or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that part sucks.
Interesting.
But one thing that is good, and Steve was the first to tell you this, is it makes way more business sense to just be a solo shop. The numbers just got a lot bigger for me personally.
Right. Yeah.
And so that part of it is very nice. And I do think in some regard, this business wants to be a one person or a one owner business. Now, could we have, I think, now it wants to be a one person business. So from that perspective, I'm happy. Things got easier. My life got easier on the money side. My life got harder on the everything else side in terms of picking up what he was doing, or outsourcing it, frankly. But no, I don't think I want another partner for quite some time, because even in the 1 week that he's kind of been gone, it's I can do whatever I want. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but
might be good or bad. Yeah.
Yeah. But it is kind of all right, what do I want? And that part is a little bit freeing. Now, freedom is not always good. So we'll have to stay on the straight and narrow, which is, Steve did a good job of keeping me on, as much as he could, the straight and narrow. So yeah, obviously there's ups and there's downs. I will say, on the whole, I feel much better about this than the screencasting failure. With this, I can see the obvious upsides, and I have no questions that Steve is going to do great and is making the right decision for his life and his family. With screencasting failure, just felt like a freaking punch in the face. But this, I'm oh, okay. Well, if I can. If I can sell $500,000 of courses in a year, I can make a lot of money. That's really good for me. Yeah. And so the upsides are more immediately obvious.
Yeah. I do think it's super hard with we know we're splitting this money. The bar on everything is so much. It's even at this, to be $100,000 course is a failure kind of sucks, even though
it does. Yeah.
Even now it would be, it wouldn't be what you'd hope. But it would at least be hey, it's $100,000. It's a good amount of money, even if it's not where I wanted it to be. Whereas when you have the partner at 50-50, you're oh, $100,000, that's not that
we just
much
spent
money.
4 months on this for 50 grand pre-expenses and taxes.
Yeah. So it's definitely going to make it easier. The business just I think probably increased its survivability in general.
I think so.
And so, because the other thing is like, the business can't survive you leaving. You know what I'm
No, I don't
saying?
think
Like
so.
if you left, I think that that's just the end of the business. So like,
Yeah.
because you're the face, right? And sometimes faces can be replaced, but it's pretty hard. So, so yeah, this way, I think, yeah, like you have opportunity. I think, you know, you kind of had this safety blanket when you left Plan Scale, right? And now it's you. Now it's
put up or
Aaron.
shut up, baby. It's
put
time.
up or shut up, but you get to make the calls, which, you know, I think with sometimes where we've obviously discussed in the past, we've maybe gone off in side quests and things, like, I think that's easier to do in some ways with a Steve, because it's like, well, Steve's running the show.
Yes.
I can go explore for a couple months and like what, like now it's going to be, it might be helpful for you to be like, no, you know what? I have to get this stuff done.
I got to put food on my family. Nobody else is out there pushing the thing forward. Yeah,
exactly.
I agree. I totally agree. And I have felt that. And to bring it back to previous episodes, that is why I'm not doing an AI course. I got to focus. I got to focus on the thing that has worked for me. Yeah. And I've been able to sell and make money on. I can't go off on a 3-month side quest to do something speculative. I just can't do it.
I think, and this is something I think we talked about a little on the show and more in the back channel, is like, I think you have a really good game plan on the AI. I think the AI with databases, like, I think you can approach the AI from a database perspective, and that will give you plenty of AI exposure without you having to be AI newsletter man and compete with the thousands of other AI newsletters, or AI course man and compete with thousands of other AI courses. And also just let you get maybe that you do vector Postgres with vectors for AI, whatever, right? And that course explodes and is huge. Well, then maybe it's like, oh, maybe then I do more of an AI course or whatever.
Totally.
You know, whatever. You have different options there, or maybe I just do more AI database courses, right? Whatever. Like, it's a way to get towards that direction without the full commitment and risk of I am now AI man competing with literally everybody else who wants to be AI man, which is every course.
I think
there.
I'm fine. I'm fine with like course corrections or like minor adjustments. I don't. I can't stomach like a pivot or like a start from scratch thing at this point. And
you have a lot going on right now too, which is like it's hard to build up the energy for that kind of thing, I think.
Yes.
In practice.
I texted a new Dallas resident, Glauber Costa, the CEO of Terso, and said, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna do a SQLite AI course. Like, what kind of resources do you have? What have you been thinking about?" And he was like, "Why don't I come over and we'll hang out and talk about it?" I'm like, "Great, let's do that. Perfect.
You're doing your businessing.
I'm businessing.
You got some scotches. You got the cigars. You're doing big business stuff.
That's right.
I love it. All right.
And so I'm already, you know, from the back channel, the good idea was like, all right, if you don't want to do AI, which is a big part of it, I just don't want to do the AI course. I don't want to do it. And nobody seems to like appreciate that. I don't want to do it.
Everybody totally ignores you.
Everybody's like bonking me on the head with a club. Like, you got to do it. I'm like, I don't want to do it. So the good idea was databases plus AI, and I thought that is a good idea. And so it reached out to Glauber to see if they have any insights into that whole world of embedded intelligence kind of stuff. So I feel very optimistic about that.
Does SQLite have a AI angle to it?
There's a vector plugin or a vector extension. Yeah.
Okay. I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, there's 2 of them. And it actually makes a lot of sense in the AI world because those databases are so cheap to make, not from like a Terso perspective, from like a compute and storage perspective. It's so cheap that every agent can get their own database. I mean, you spin up a database, you don't even spin it up. You create a file of a database, and then the agent can talk to that. And when it's, you know, it can use that for memory, it can use that for RAG.
It very AI-ish,
doesn't it? It's crazy. And then it can just like it can delete it when it's done, or it can keep it around for like long-term memory.
And all that stuff,
So yeah, I mean, there's a huge, you know, the SQLite resurgence has been well documented, but I think even these AI agents needing a durable place to write stuff is a pretty good and compelling use case, especially when it is on device, you know. the privacy angle for SQLite is pretty powerful.
I was I don't know if this is a Terso angle, but like, I mean, Apple just had their developer conference and like a big thing was like onboard AI LLM, you know? And so like, maybe they just give you the APIs for storage and it's not applicable, but maybe they don't. And I know now a lot of people work directly with SQLite on their Apple apps. And so there could even be like a whole Apple angle and, or maybe they give you a way to drop down into it. Like they have I think that's how it works now is like there is like an API, but then you can also directly access the SQLite database underneath. Just this is not AI related, just in general on an iOS app. So you might be able to do some stuff there in terms of like that. People might be looking for that kind of information of like lower level SQLite for AI use cases, even on personal apps and those type of things. But interesting. So now it's gonna be you got more work ahead. You're making more work for yourself already.
Got more work. There's no digging a pool this summer. I got stuff to do.
No, not building the garage under the house. I think you're gonna have to forego that.
I think I am, sadly.
So you already have the one in the can, right? Or one or two in the can of not in the can, but of deals to build out. So that's good. And we talked about you doing them shorter potential. I don't know if these deal ones can be shorter, but like new ones could be shorter. So
and I tweeted about, you know, what database thing do you want me to teach you? And everybody's like, why limit it to databases? I'm like, guys, I'm trying my best here. But Upstash, the hosted Redis provider, replied and was like, hey, if you do Redis, we will sponsor it. And so already some good movement there. So I, you know, DM'd them and we'll talk about it, see if we can make that work. But that is another thing that I've felt the pull of, and that is database companies. Like every database company somehow has a ton of money, and also wants to get in front of developers. That was a pretty good combo for me. Versus, you know, going out, and I'm sure AI companies have even more money, but like, what am I going to do? Go to Anthropic and be like, hey, do you want to sponsor a Claude Code course? I don't know too much about it, but I'm good at stuff. Like
they also have 70 other emails that say that exact same thing.
Exactly.
No, you have the connections, you have the street cred in the database, and these database companies are not going to have this money forever. So grabbing up some of it while they have it is good. It's almost like I wonder if you could broaden it. Maybe it's just better to stick with the word database, but there is this idea of like it's more like data.
I know.
Like data school. It's like if you're storing data, and that might be in a database, but it might be a database-like thing that's like DynamoDB or Redis or some vector thing, right?
Or
like
Elastic,
or Elastic, or like all these things are things that people need help with.
Dataschool.com is owned by Chartio, which is like an online business intelligence thing.
Not gonna get that.
They haven't updated it in like 4 years.
Oh, it's like a thing. It's like a knowledge.
It's like an educational resource that's like half the links are broken now.
Oh yeah. It's like for like a you might be able to get that.
I know. I found the previous editor. So they're like editor-in-chief of dataschool.com or whatever. They've since moved on. Found him on Twitter and DM'd him and was like, hey, how do I get this? Like, I would love to own Data School.
You're way ahead of me here.
I know. But I haven't heard back from him yet. So we'll see. I may have to find him on, God forbid, LinkedIn or something like that.
I mean, you might just need to reach out to Chartio.
I know. Maybe I do. But I was hoping
2019, 6 years old.
I know. I was hoping that this person could put me in touch with the right person inside of Chartio. But yeah, Data Schools is it's a pretty great domain.
That's a good domain.
So we'll see.
You could do something similar with some tweaking. You know?
I own databaseschool.com.
There we go.
There you go.
You got that.
Got that.
Okay. I like where this is going. I feel good with all this.
Feel good about this?
Yeah. I especially feel good if you can increase your shipping frequency. I think primarily by making them shorter, probably. And then if you can also which is a lot of work, keep the YouTube going. Again, like we talked about last week, like maybe you're able to slice and dice some stuff. Maybe you're able to have some other episodes that just come out of your work in the courses rather than everything being brand new or whatever. But get a good editor. I mean, I assume you're just going to outsource the editing work.
I think probably, especially for the courses.
Yeah, maybe not for YouTube, I guess, but even YouTube, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of editors out there. I feel like you got to outsource that and just like.
And we have a good one. We have a good one that we've worked with. Who knows?
Have an editor? I thought.
For the screencasting stuff and a little bit of other stuff, we had an editor working on that while Steve was working on something else, and he's great.
Okay. Yeah. So I would just leverage that, because I think that's just, you don't want to get caught up in like, oh, I lost 2 days because like I was trying to do this thing and I don't really know how to do it and like whatever. Like,
sure don't.
Yeah, I
don't want to do that.
All right. Well, what else? I mean, I guess that's, I don't know. I don't have any other stuff there other than like, how do you feel about it? You feel good? You said you kind of feel good. How was Jennifer? How'd she feel?
Jennifer
about it?
was worried for me.
Okay.
She was like, how do you feel? Yeah. So I feel overall optimistic.
Okay.
I am disappointed I will not be working with Steve anymore for now. I don't think that there's, I don't think that that's the end forever. I think we could definitely work on stuff together again. But I'm disappointed that I won't be working with Steve for now. I'm a little bit scared of like, this is all on me now. Like there was a certain luxury of not having to involve myself in like sponsor negotiations and stuff.
Yeah.
I can do it. I don't derive joy from that, and Steve did. So that part I'm like not super looking forward to. Kelsey she'll step up and have a bigger role.
I'm just gonna ask that.
Yeah, so she'll be doing some more stuff like that. She's currently like she's always part-time, but she's like more part-time right now because she's on modified maternity, so she had some time off and now she's back with a little bit more hours per week. But come July 1st, which is soon, kiddo's going to some sort of daycare school, whatever, who knows, and she's gonna have more time, and so I think she's gonna pick up some of the Steve duties as they relate to like business operations and that sort of thing. Which she's just built for. She's just very good at that stuff. So that'll be super helpful. I'll start, talking to her a whole lot more. Like we'll have pretty regular standing calls to make sure the business side of the house is still moving forward. So yeah, I think I feel optimistic anxiety. which is better than the anxiety I've been feeling. In addition to the anxiety I've been feeling, but this is optimistic anxiety. Like I'm nervous. Like this next 6 months are going to be pretty important. And I think with the right execution, they can be great, but it's still an open question. So I'm cautiously optimistic.
I feel like you should like really get it planned out. Like, you have some stuff that you're contractually committed to, right? And maybe you want to do something else in there, whatever. I think you should like plan a month off after that. Like maybe not literally off, because you're not gonna be able to take time off, but like
December,
something like, I feel like for what you're doing is a lot of creativity to it, and like giving yourself a like, I'm not going to do anything creative, or at least not in the same space, but like really planning that, especially for you, I think would be really useful, rather than letting it like wear you down and then maybe you get like burned out on it and stuff. I don't know. I just feel like maybe having a structured, like, I'm not going to do any courses in this. I'm not going to do any recording of course stuff in this chunk, right? Whatever that time is, could be useful to give yourself some permission to like not do that, as opposed to like, I'm just going to grind because now it's just me and all that stuff, because it's like unrealistic,
It's almost like hard. Me, Ian. That's very interesting. Very
curious
indeed.
You get burned out and you go off on too far an adventure for too long, right? And that'll be bad. So if you structure it, maybe you can.
We need a controlled burn. That's what we need.
Controlled, yes.
Yeah. We don't want an out of control burnout. Yeah. So what else? What other questions?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's like not really anything different in the sense, because like you're gonna do these courses, you're gonna stay on the courses. So this is like all kind of interesting, right? Because it's like from the outside perspective, a ton's gonna change, because it's like Aaron's the face of it, and every once in a while Aaron comes out with a course and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's going to be similar. What are you going to do with screencasting?
I'll keep it going. I actually had a nice talk with Daniel Vasallo. I sent out the email newsletter, the small bets guy. Sent out the email newsletter, and he responded and was like, "Hey, if you want to, if you want to talk through things, here's my calendar." And so I talked to him, and it was very helpful. I think I'll definitely keep it. I think the content is very good and very helpful. I will work on repositioning the messaging a little bit, and then I think I'll probably leave it alone for a while and just let it stew.
I wonder if that could even be like, make it one thing, $99 or $199, or just like really simplify it. And
that's what I think I will probably do. Is I'll probably lower the prices on everything, and then also have just 2 options. One is how to screencast, and then the other is how to screencast plus all of the editor courses.
Editing,
and just watch whichever one you want. If you want to watch all 4 editor courses, more power to you. Right. That's great. I'm happy for you. I think that probably makes the most sense. And then just kind of change the homepage, product page to be a little more salesy and less like representative of the database structure. Like we have 4 courses. This is how much they cost. So yeah, I don't think that's dead at all. That won't be my focus, but I think with 3 to 5 days of dedicated work, it could be a lot more profitable, and then I'll just let it cook.
I like that idea. I think getting it structured so that it's in like a really easy to sell, logical place is good. And then who knows? It's the kind of thing that you could do other stuff, like one of those like daily deal sites or something. Like so, like it could do. It's a little more outside of developers only, So who knows? Like stuff might just pop up where you're like, oh yeah, I'm willing to give 50% off for a day or a week or something, or put it in somebody's newsletter at holiday time, and somebody wants to bundle it or whatever. Who knows? There could be other opportunities you get in, and you're like, this is the thing I throw in for those kind of other opportunities, and it's like a cool thing that maybe every once in a while gets a spike or whatever. I like that. Okay. I guess Kelsey won't get bored enough to probably do any like content work on that, so it's probably just going to end up.
I don't think she's going to be bored for quite some time. Yeah.
All right. Well, then, if we're good there, which I think we are,
let me give my full-throated endorsement for hiring Steve. So anybody that's listening that wants, dev ed, marketing, frankly, design engineering, he could probably do that. You should absolutely reach out to Steve. Probably best places on Twitter, I would imagine. Who can say? But reach out to Steve. You would be lucky to have him as a full-time employee. And he says he is open to, let me see if I can find it, open to a new role in the dev tool education / marketing space. And he might tinker on some free and paid products related to video in the meantime. So he's not in a super rush to find something, but if you're in the dev tool space and you want an A player that can do almost anything, I would imagine, you should reach out to Steve and get on his calendar for sure.
Yeah, that's great. I think that it's always nice somebody who's run their own business. Like, even if it didn't work out, it's like they've got a lot of experience now and a lot of other sorts of things that can be quite useful inside of a company, to just have like that bigger picture. So yeah.
And this is like the 4th time he's run a business. He's run an animation studio.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He's bought and sold land. Wholesale.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
there we go.
He's that guy. He's done it all. He started a real estate software product. I know. That's what I'm saying.
Land speculation. This is Gordon Gekko stuff right here.
I know. They're not making any more of it.
Yes.
So anyway, if you're looking to hire somebody, hire Steve. You couldn't do any better than that. So there you go.
So speaking of land, the other thing we had to talk about today is you were going to acquire some digital land.
I was. They're not making any more of it.
They are not, and it was pretty good. So
it was pretty good.
Give the people what you were up to.
It was. Let's see what.
Oh, yeah.
Is there anything there?
Probably not yet.
Coming soon. This domain is managed at Namebright, so it's already been transferred.
That doesn't load for me. Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm minding my own business, trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the entire, my entire future.
Yeah.
And I get a DM from Peter Askew, I think is his name. Is that his last name? Peter Askew, Askew.
Okay.
You might know him as Searchbound on Twitter. You might know him as the proprietor of VidaliaOnions.com. So this guy is...
Wait a minute. I just saw VidaliaOnions.com on a YouTube video for something.
That's him.
Holy cow. Oh, that's insane. Okay.
So this guy's awesome. His story is he's a domainer, but he's not a squatter. He looks for exactmatch.com domains that businesses can be built around. And that's how Vidalia Onions came to be. He saw the .com, bought the .com, and then figured out how to produce onions. And so I think he teamed up with I think he's in Georgia. I think he teamed up with somebody that actually, grows the onions.
Literally, we just watched a video about how they went to Vidalia Onions and the guy recorded them picking and planting onions. And
there you
whatever.
go.
That's crazy.
It.
Okay,
yep.
So you know this person.
So I know this person.
Okay.
We're internet friends, and he DMs me.
This is freaky. This is freaky. Yeah? I just watched a video on this guy. I don't know anything about him.
The universe is conspiring.
Very freaky. Jamie's going to freak out because we were watching this together.
So I'm reading the About Us on Vidalia Onions. The farm is run by Arias and Megan Haygood, who are active members in the Georgia Fruit and Vegetable Growers Association, naturally. And then the next paragraph says the online operation is maintained by Peter Askew. So I think the story is he bought the domain and then went and found farmers, and he just runs the entire operation because I was DMing him and he was like, well, I can't do that right now. I'm packing onions. I was like, what? So anyway, Peter DMs me. He DMs me on Friday and he's like, hey, I think this is a pretty good one. You gotta, you might want to buy this. And I click on it and it's tryhard.com available for sale. And it's up for an auction, right? So he's on dropcatch.com. And that's what he does a lot is he scours these sites that catch domains that expire. And then they go to auction, right? I don't think there's any chance of a human beating the drop catchers. And so the drop catchers catch them and then resell them, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So he DMs me that Tryhard is up for auction. And I'm like, oh, geez, this is so good. And so at the time, it was, $3,000. And I'm like, okay, it's a lot of money. Not a lot of money for a 2-word that matches my LLC's name.
2 very short words,
And so I'm rushing to get verified on dropcatch.com. I'm taking a picture of my ID with smiling my face next to it. I'm like, I'm a real human. Yeah. And I'm DMing Peter. I'm like, can you just bid on it for me? And he's like, I can, but I have to, charge you a cut because I'm out here packing onions and I'd have to, take time off to go monitor this auction. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So this
guy, he's a business guy.
He's the best. You would love him. Yeah. You would domains and business dad. Yeah, exactly. It's
gonna cost you. All right.
Yep. Okay. And so I got verified. I called in, left a message, was like, hey, I'm trying to bid on this auction. I sent in all my stuff. I'm real. They verify me. I come back and the domain's up to $6,300. Yeah. And that's when I DM you and I'm like, oh, what do I do? And the most salient point, or your most helpful feedback was this is not going to increase revenue in any way. So while it is a great domain that I will someday own, it will be mine. It didn't if it was database.com, that fundamentally increases my revenue. Yes. For sure. But just going from tryhardstudios.com to tryhard.com is only cool points. That's it. That's all I would get. And there's a lot of cool points.
It is a lot of cool points.
I don't know if it's $6,500 of cool points. And that was another fear is if I get in there and start, mucking it up with these bidders, it's going to be $10,000. I don't need this for $10,000. So I let it go because I think it ended at 6,500. Okay. But there were several bidders that were active and I thought this could just keep going.
Yeah, I mean, once you have one more in there, the person who bought it might have been like, I think this is worth 20,000 to Nike or something, right? I think it's worth 100,000. Right. Listen, it's hard to know. That's where in that regard, it's not a terrible investment for you because I think it's probably worth $6,500 if you were just going to resell it.
I could turn around and resell it. Yes.
Yeah. So I don't think it was the worst thing in the world. But the thing with domains is it's worth $6,500 someday, but you have to have the company that actually wants it. So, okay, you're going to list it for 20 grand or 30 grand. And someday there will probably be a company willing to pay that because it is a very good domain. Right. But that might be 5 years from now. So, now you're sitting on this thing for 5 years.
If I had $1 million in the bank, I would have spent 20K on it for sure.
Right,
But I don't want to, I don't want to reveal too much. I do not have $1 million in the bank. Yeah. So I had to let it go.
The other thing is, I mean, you were already kind of in this process. I don't know how far it actually got, but the idea anyway of moving to aaronfrancis.com as sort of really the place for all your courses.
Yeah.
And so
that's the other thing is like, the Try Hard brand exists kind of as a holding company. You know, it's good. It's good fodder for Twitter and like articles, and it's cool. It's a cool name, but like, it's me. And it's, databases. The Try Hard thing is very much in the background. So
I think trying to have another brand that you're branding doesn't make a lot of sense. Because you already have Aaron Francis, which I still think probably should be the thing. But if you do have a secondary thing, it should be databases. And Try Hard should be nothing, because who cares? Like, nobody cares about the studio. If you were offering services as like a for hire thing, that's different. But with your current game plan, I don't think people knowing Try Hard means
doesn't
anything.
matter. Nope.
Yeah, so that's the part that's a little bit unfortunate.
Such a pity, isn't it?
We got our hooks in you, though. Me and Peter, we got our hooks in you. You're gonna be on Jobcast now. You're gonna be looking. What's up there? What's hot?
I did poke around.
There's some good stuff.
What else you guys have over here?
You almost got me because I just saw this when I was looking for your thing. Flyshit.com. What a name!
I wasn't pushing it, but I was hoping that you would buy that for no reason whatsoever.
Oh, flyshit.com. And then I didn't see what it's. These public ones are usually listed on namebio.com, but I'm a little scared to change I have the Cloudflare VPN running, and if I turn it off, it might mess up our recording. Yeah, but I do want to check after to see what it wasn't listed. Try Hard wasn't listed, and Flyshit wasn't listed a couple days after, but I think it usually makes their way into NameBio, so kind of want to see what Flyshit sold for. But
I'm almost certain that Try Hard is going to be a resale, and so
100%.
I'll build up the war chest, and eventually I will acquire it.
Yeah.
I think database.com is for sale on GoDaddy auctions, but it's like,
oh wow,
I think it's like $1 million. Oh
no, it goes to Salesforce. It's unviable.
Oh yeah,
unviable.
Can you imagine
all the good domains that are just in the stash of like the Salesforces of the world? Apple, Salesforce, Microsoft. How many? Microsoft must have tons and tons of domains. All off the market forever.
Hey, King Database. Go back to the King thing. KingDatabase.com.
You can use the paper hat idea.
Yeah.
I want to give out paper hats at the party. That'd be so cool. Little crown, little Burger King crown.
Unbelievable.
Awesome. Yeah, you're not getting database.com.
I'm not getting database.
You're gonna have a lot of money. A lot of money. Enough to buy a chunk of Salesforce.
I don't think there's an amount of money that would. I really don't. I don't think so.
Yeah. Because that's too close to what they do. They're never selling that. So yeah, you're out of luck.
AIdatabase.com is $3.5 million. So stupid. What?
I can't. You're not going to get your money back on that. It's like, no. It's so tricky. It's like there's this fine line, which I do think outro. I like it because I think it hits this line of like a word that means something, but isn't so meaningful that then there's no brandability to it. And like database is kind of like that. Like you just own database.com. I don't know, like courses, I guess you could put there, but that might literally be the only thing. Like, I don't know. It's just not that much stuff you could put there that's like brandable. I mean, you wouldn't even be able to get the trademark for it. That's like where like show also when I want to talk about that. Like you have to be able to get the trademark, so it can't be too common. So you're always walking that line with these like single word things. Yeah, AI database, like that's just not a good name.
No, it's terrible.
I'm not paying $3 million for that.
AIdatabase.com
name.
Databases.com. $95,000.
Databases.com. Yeah, the old S on the end.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. Not usually the best. Databases.
Not for $100,000 databases.
Yeah, I think, and again, it's all these things. It's like we talked about last show. It's like with SEO kind of being much less going forward. Probably it's a little tricky. I don't know. It's sort of interesting if AI replaces some bigger percentage of search. Like I don't think search is going away, but if AI is 25% in the end, or whatever, or maybe 50%, and they drop people more off on home pages than search does, I do wonder if that maybe enhances the case of the good domain, potentially.
It gives you so much instant credibility to be, screencasting.com. You're like, oh, I bet they know something about screencasting.
Yeah, and even the AI and its little auto-completing brain, right, is like, oh, screencasting.com. This person asked me about screencasting, and then screencasting.com. That's a logical auto-completion element there, right? So like, yeah, interesting. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe we should be scraping together $3.5 million to get AI databases or AI database, and we should be making that happen.
Listen, if we're scraping $3.5 million together, I'm taking $3.5 million and running, and I'm not buying AIdatabase.com.
We're gonna need more sponsors. Sponsor the show, people.
Dude,
we gotta get this domain.
So many more sponsors.
All right, we've
been going for a million years.
Anything else? Anything else on any of this? You're good?
Have I talked about the solo lunches on Fridays?
No.
I've started taking one twin to lunch on Fridays. Just me and the twin. Get some one-on-one time.
Are the babies in the mix on
babies
this?
Babies are not
just
included
the older ones?
yet. Yeah. Okay. So every other week I take one of the big kids to lunch. Just me and them. It's great. Nice. So fun. They look forward to it all week, and then they talk about it all weekend. Great. And I think when the older ones are old enough, that puts us on a nice schedule, right? That gives us once a month, basically. You're going to lunch with just dad. And I can sell that to the school. Like, listen, I'm in charge. It's my kid. They don't need to eat lunch here, on this Friday.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I'm in charge.
Good luck with that one.
Listen, public schools can't do anything against me. I'm the captain. So,
boy.
Yeah, it's great. So
once a month's not too bad. Yeah,
once a month is not too bad. Get over it. So yeah,
you even do pick them up at 1 and you just take them the rest of the day. They're just done at 1.
That'd be awesome. That'd be so
late
fun.
Lunch. Yeah.
So I've been doing that for several weeks.
Are you still doing the Saturday morning?
Saturday morning breakfast is still a thing.
With the two of them.
Okay. With the two of them.
Yep. I love those things. Making time for the individual stuff, super important.
Yeah.
Because when you have a lot of kids like we do, it's just hard to make time with one of them.
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
And it's very important. And so this is one way that I'm doing that right now. There will be more, but I'm enjoying this one. It's fun.
Yeah, that's great. I love this idea. See, you have a lot going on, man. A lot going on.
Got to do it all.
Got to get some time off in there.
No other option but to do everything all the time.
Those things are nice too, because they do build in you are required to take a break from your stuff because you have to go do this, and it's just set. It's on the calendar, and you're just doing it. It's not something that's so easily brushed off. So you're not gonna just push through and not do it, right?
And my son was sick all week, and so he missed a bunch of school. So he's been at home, and sister's been going to school, and so going out on Friday with dad to Chick-fil-A, and he was so pumped. It was great. So that's a good thing. We got good things going,
Yes, lots of good stuff going. I think it's all looking good. Just the work has to get done. That's always
the work has
issue.
to get done.
But besides that, I think it's looking pretty good. I think you're kind of actually. I think we're approaching the summer and fall of Aaron.
Summer of George. I could go for summer of George.
Get some of my references.
Yeah, I get the Seinfeld references. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's you got the fresh start here a little bit, and you got the refocusing.
Got the fire.
You got the fire. You got a little bit of pressure.
Fire,
too
pressure.
Much.
Yeah.
But you got to make a diamond, right?
Something about diamonds.
Make a diamond here. Wow, big update day.
Big update day, guys, and this is free. You didn't pay anything for this.
Some of them paid.
Yeah.
A handful.
Yeah. Tell your friends, tell your loved ones. Mostlytechnical.com. Ian, what's the outro segment? Can you read us out?
I don't know.
No idea.
I don't have a tool where it just inserts it dynamically so that I can read it.
Oh man.
Check us out on mostlytechnical.com, I guess. That's where the link for sponsoring the show is. Do that. Like us on the podcasting rating things. And we will be back with lots of updates next week. Now I have updates. You have updates. Gonna be a lot going on for the summer. Check back.
And go to outro.fm.
Sign up at outro.fm. Talk to y'all later.
See ya.